right, you probably noticed at work when you look around the office, where did all the go-getters go? See, the days of unpaid overtime and working through the weekend, those are things of the past for a growing number of professionals. So how are companies adjusting to that lack of free labor? Back with us today, Dr. Lisa Orbe-Austin. The passion, at least in the last 3+ years, doctor, seems to be much lower. Can you talk about how the pandemic has changed just work culture in general?
I mean, I think the passion for overworking and overfunctioning and trying to prove yourself has diminished, and I think people have been doing a bit of a reset and trying to figure out what are they passionate about, what are the things that really matter to them, and what do they want to spend excess time on. Yeah,
and when the same amount of people are kind of collectively doing a lot less work, what kind of strain does that put on bosses?
I hope that it puts on the strain on bosses to recognize that your whole job is not just necessarily to manage down and to manage the people that work for you, but to also manage up and to think about what resources do you need to do the job without overstressing your people and asking them to do far beyond what they're being tasked to do. And so I hope it really helps people managers to expand their understanding of their role and recognize their job is to find resources as well.
Dr. Lisa, in some cases, an inspiring boss may spark some productivity within their team, but we've seen the opposite happen with someone, say, like Elon Musk, who's demanding that the work culture be more hardcore and people work more. But that does the opposite, right?
I mean, I think when people have resolved that this is not what they're going to do, by pushing them and using command and control, they're not necessarily going to go to your wishes. They're going to actually sometimes rebel against that. So I do think it's really important to recognize the culture that you're in and think about the ways in which people are then motivated to do what you need them to do. Most people are actually doing their jobs and doing what they should be doing. They're just not doing a lot of excess. And so I do think that's an important thing for people to consider.
Now, we talk about this attitude shift that we've seen. It seems to be universal, though, across states, across generations. I know we talked about quiet quitting and Gen Z, but it seems like everyone across the board is now accepting that this is the new way of doing things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a work culture shift. I don't think it is, people have attributed to Gen Z and to the millennials, but I think it is a work culture shift across generations and across the board, which I think is really exciting in a lot of ways, because I think it really does signal potentially a different way of being in the workplace.
Now, for those bosses out there that are still considering more hard and strict rules, can you talk about some of the benefits that actually come from making that shift with increased flexibility and maybe some stronger boundaries?
Yeah, I think, people have a better, work-life balance. They have better mental health. They have better desire to be in the work when they're there, when they do not feel overstressed or overtasked. And they also feel greatly respected when you can respect their boundaries, and that makes them feel a greater loyalty to the organization when they feel like they are cared for in those ways. So I do think there's a lot of benefits to allowing people to really have boundaries and not necessarily overstress them or overwork them.
Yeah, work culture definitely changed in the last 3 years, that is for sure. Dr. Lisa Orbe-Austin, thank you so much for joining us every single week here. You guys, in the meantime, follow her on Instagram for more advice. You can also check out her new book that we covered as well, Your Unstoppable Greatness. Thanks, Dr. Lisa.